It's Monday of draft week. It's the final mock draft Monday, and I've got a special one. This is my perfect mock draft. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. So if you want to subscribe to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to subscribe button down below. The goal is to hit it before the season starts. But if we hit 5,000 before the draft is over, or before day one of the draft is over, I'll give away a jersey of who we draft with our first pick. Now, I said this was my perfect mock draft. What exactly does that mean? I did not use any mock draft simulators. This was not me saying, oh, let's see how the board plays out. No, this is me saying, if I could perfectly select players in the position that they are currently being evaluated at by mock drafts and things like that, what would I do? And this is it. So if you're looking at this and saying, well, you wanted this player in round one, but he wasn't available, so does the rest of the draft fit? No, this draft fits perfectly together because of the amount of pass rushers versus corners versus receivers versus offensive linemen that I took. So these are all players that I love. I would be happy if we draft any one of these guys. This doesn't mean if I don't draft them, I'm going to be pissed, but these are my favorite players in each round that work together to make sure we have a good balance of upcoming rookies at different positions that will all provide value to the Ravens this season. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. And comment down below your thoughts, your opinions on every player that I take and your perfect mock draft. If you could have any 11 players, who would you want the Ravens to take and why? But starting off, I already made a video on my top 5 players for the Ravens to draft round one. This is at the top of the list. Donovan Ezuraku, 27th overall. I think we need a star edge rusher, especially going forward, because I doubt we'll re-sign Odafe Away. He's coming off of a 10-sack season. He's going to the 5th year of his contract. We haven't extended him. I would expect somewhere around 10 sacks again, and I just don't think we have the money to be able to pay him. So I think we need to draft an edge rusher, maybe not necessarily just for this year, but for years to come. And Donovan Ezuraku is someone that can absolutely play this year. He can be a starting pass rusher in the NFL this year, and he can get you about 7 sacks, I think. He's a little bit undersized, but he has unbelievable bend, terrific pass rush moves. He can win inside, he can win outside, he can line up on both sides of the offensive line. So he's someone that I think would pair very well with an Odafe Away and learn a lot from a guy like Kyle Van Noy. So I think it'd be a perfect fit. Him, and the other pass rushers we have that are quote unquote backups, David Ojabo, Aziz, and then Tavius Robinson could all work together. And I think it would work really well. And I think we'd get a really productive back or a pass rush that would allow us to get, a deep playoff run with Donovan Ezuraku. I think he's the most impactful player we could draft in the first round. Next up, round 59. I went O-line, or I haven't gone O-line yet. I think we do want to draft an offensive lineman, especially if we go edge first. I think we have to go edge in the first 2 rounds. And if we go edge in the first round and there is a terrific guard or tackle prospect, I think we should take a shot on him. And Wyatt Milam, yes, he did play tackle. He projects more as a guard fit in the NFL. Didn't allow any sacks last year. Terrific size, good enough athleticism. I think he would absolutely compete and probably take one of the guards starting positions. And so, again, another impact player with upside, with positional versatility because he did play tackle in college. And he's a little bit bigger than some of the other, kind of hybrid tackles. He does have the size to play tackle, not necessarily the arm length, but the height, the weight, it is all there. So if needed, yes, he could swing out wide, but I think he'd be a terrific guard for the Ravens in the second round. I think he's kind of the best option there. I looked at some other players. I felt like he was the best one. And I think he could start right away, or it could be a situation where, he doesn't start the first 5 weeks as he gets used to playing the position and then eventually gets slid in and is able to do a very good job. But those, I think, are my 2. I would love to go edge line would be my first 2 things that I would do. But next up, if we haven't gotten defensive back, I feel like we need to get defensive back early in this draft and get defensive backs that can play right away. And I think in the 3rd round, if you're looking at, okay, we need a DB that can play right away, I'm looking at Andrew Makuba. Safety out of Texas, terrific ball skills, plays over the top, not necessarily great close to the line of scrimmage, but can guard a guy in the slot if needed. But really, he's going to play over the top. And now that we are officially having our Darius Washington back, he signed his tender. We would have 3 safeties that we would be able to shift in and out. Kyle Hamilton can play everywhere. Our Darius Washington can pretty much play anywhere. Makuba, yeah, he's quote unquote limited to play over the top, but that's the role we kind of wanted out of a Marcus Williams type. But Marcus Williams was unable to stay healthy. After he had that shoulder injury, he really struggled in coverage and tackling. But Makuba would kind of bring kind of the upside of what we were thinking we were getting with Marcus Williams when we first signed him. I think we'd be getting that from him right away. And so I think that's already a terrific move. And then add in the fact that he's going to develop. He has the right size, about 5'11". He ran like a 4.4 40, or maybe it was like a 4.5 flat, but good enough 40-yard dash, good enough athleticism. I think he's the exact trio that we want at the safety position. And for everybody that was like McConnell, TTB, you went DB, you didn't go corner. That's what the next pick is for. Pick 129, Noel Williams, someone that I scouted a little bit later in the process. I'm glad I finally did, because this guy is kind of exactly what you're wanting for a day 2/day 3 corner. You know, he might go in the 3rd round, but I expect him to go in the 4th, which is why I have him taking him in the 4th. If he goes earlier, that's unfortunate for us, because I don't think we'd take him in the 3rd, but he's a press man corner, a terrific size, good ball skills. He's going to get PBUs. He's going to play physical. He's going to play on the outside. And, you know, he wouldn't necessarily start for us right away, because we, you know, unless we draft a corner in round 1, I wouldn't expect them to start. We could maybe have a round 2 corner start if it's a guy like Benjamin Morrison. But now that I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, who's our backup outside corner, right? Because right now for the Ravens, it's like Jalen Armour-Davis or TJ Tampa. And I'd like to get more depth there. So I think he kind of worked with TJ Tampa. I think he'd be better than Jalen Armour-Davis right away. We'll see with TJ Tampa. He was just injured last year. I think him and TJ Tampa are similar caliber prospects in terms of both are like kind of ready to play. TJ just dealt with a lot of injuries last year, so was unable to get on the field. But Noel Williams would be either our cornerback 4 or 5 right away. And depth at the cornerback position is always needed. And he'd be able to learn from Cheeto Awuzie pretty early on, learn from Nate, learn from Marlon, all corners that are able to play pretty good man coverage. And Noel Williams, that's his strength. So, you know, we'd be able to be a pretty good man coverage defense in a lot of situations. And I think that'd be very valuable for our team to have. Next up, round 1, pick 136. I think, in my opinion, I've filled out all of the positions of true need. Okay, so now it's like, okay, now I'm starting to go, not necessarily best player available, but best player positionally available and differentially from the players that we already drafted. Because you guys know I love Antoine Powell-Ryland. However, he's another kind of smaller pass rusher from the ACC, and I was like, I don't want to get too. He's too similar to Donovan Ezraku. So I went with a different guy, different mold, and I went with Ahmed Hassanian out of Boise State. He's the pass rusher from Egypt. I think he's going to be the first Egyptian ever drafted in the NFL, or at least in the first 4 rounds of the NFL. I think it's the first in the NFL, which would be really cool. But he is a big, powerful pass rusher. Terrific against the run. He can play 3-tech if you need. He's that strong. He would need to bulk up to play a little bit more 3-tech, but right away you can get him out there and he'll set the edge. Kind of reminds me of what Tavius Robinson was coming out of college. Maybe a little bit smaller, a little bit more of an outside edge rusher than Tavius is. But Tavius, we've already seen, you know, in 2 years, Tavius has become a terrific run stopper. He was making some of the best plays for the Ravens defense in the playoffs. It was like, this is the guy that's the best in our front 7. That's how many plays he was making. I kind of see a little bit of Tavius Robinson and Ahmad Hassanian in terms of just incredible play strength, good athleticism, great size as an edge setter. And I think he'd be really productive in the NFL. He's terrific on that Boise State defense, who was able to, you know, he was able to keep them. Him and Ashton Genty were kind of the 2 main guys on that team. Ashton Genty carrying the offense, Ahmed Hassanian on the defensive end, getting them a couple of sacks, getting them some turnovers, helping them get the ball back to Ashton Genty as he had a generational season. But huge fan of Ahmed. I feel like he counteracts what Donovan Ezraku does. So, you know, we're not just putting all our eggs in one basket, drafting only one pass rusher. But next up is a position that I feel like I do want to draft, but not necessarily a major need, but it is wide receiver. And I was looking at wide receivers, And in the 5th round, which Ty Felton would be in, I spoiled it, said it too early, but I went with Ty Felton. A couple of other guys that were available were like Dante Thornton. I felt like I couldn't sneak in a Nick Nash. I couldn't sneak in a Torrey Horton. I think they'll go a little bit earlier. But Ty Felton, I think 5th round is about the latest that we could draft him. And I think if he's available at that point, he's a need. Crazy quick, crazy fast, really good at getting open and separation. He's probably a slot receiver in the NFL, but that versatility, because we've had games, right? Knock on wood, but like Zay Flowers has been hurt before. And we go into games, we're like, wait, now we don't have a slot. And we start throwing Isaiah Likely out there, which I'm not opposed to, but having another guy that can, catch screen passes and make a lot of guys miss, that can get open in the short yardage situations, short field, get open in the red zone, right? Put him on a squirrel or a zig, whatever you want to call it. Put him on an arrow route, and he can probably get you open, get him in motion pre-snap, utilize him. You guys have watched Maryland football. You know how good this guy is. I think it would be a valuable pick to get him, keep him home in Maryland, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch play with Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman. That sort of trio of just quickness and skill, and then also still having a DeAndre Hopkins. I almost said Nook again. It is Nuke. Someone corrected me, so I appreciate that. But Ty Felton in the 5th round, I would love that selection. Next up, pick 183, my favorite player in the class, Jay Higgins, linebacker out of Iowa. His defect is that he's not super fast. He ran like a 4.8 flat 40, but incredibly smart, incredible tackler, very good in pass coverage, can get you interceptions, PBUs, can cover tight ends, can cover in the slot. Just the leader of that Iowa defense. Even Cooper DeJean has brought it up this offseason about how impactful Jay Higgins was on that defense. And I think he would do the same thing in the NFL. Just be a really smart linebacker that can help the team out. They can get tackles against these elite running backs and really bring them down. And for all the people that are like, we can't get another linebacker that's slow, that's what pick 203 is for. Smile Munden Jr. out of Georgia. Now, here's an ultra athletic linebacker that needs to work on a little bit more of his pass coverage. He needs to refine that athleticism into what he's looking for. But I think it'd be really good for him to learn from a Trenton Simpson, who's, working on becoming that will linebacker. But Smile Munden Jr. is a raw prospect, but very athletic. And I think getting kind of two polarizing linebackers that are kind of fighting for one spot, Smile would at least be able to play on special teams pretty early. Jay Higgins, I think, could as well. Maybe not on punts, but on kickoffs, I think he could be in there. I just think having those two linebackers as later picks would counteract each other well. They'd be able to learn from each other. And eventually, one of them could become, the third linebacker on the depth chart, which I think we do need, because last year we were starting a lot of different guys at will linebacker. We don't know who's going to do it this year. It's assumed it's Trenton Simpson. So let's get the backups. You got one backup that's crazy fast, one backup that's crazy smart, and a great tackler already. Whatever you need in the game, if someone goes down, you can sub them in. Next up, pick 210. I feel like, yes, we've dressed like kind of defensive line, but let's get the interior boosted up. Ty Robinson is a really big, really athletic nose tackle. You could maybe put him at 3 tech. He'd do all right, but he's a run stuffer. He did have 6 sacks last year, but they were more coverage sacks. He's not a big pass rush move specialist, but he ran a sub 5 40-yard dash at 330 pounds and 6'6". That's the athleticism that you're looking for. We lost Michael Pierce to retirement. So getting somebody that's just a really big body, kind of a run stopper, I think Ty Robinson is kind of the best later in this draft. And I know the Florida guy is also someone that he's like 400 pounds. But I feel like he'll go undrafted. So maybe bring him in as well. And I'd be pretty happy with that. But Ty Robinson, in terms of draftable, like really big nose tackles, interior defensive lineman, I really like him in the later rounds, day 3. Next up, pick 212. This is a receiver that I really think has some upside, but definitely needs refinement. And that's Kanata Mumfield out of Pittsburgh. Ran like a 4.59 40-yard dash. So not necessarily the fastest, but he's kind of a highlight machine. Just terrific acrobatic catches, great body control in the air. But a lot of times he does lose focus. He's not the best of route runners, doesn't get a ton of separation. However, I think the upside of his body control and pass catching prowess at the high point makes it worth taking a flyer on him because I don't think he's someone that is going to attract a lot of people if he gets put on the practice squad, which I think he probably would be. But he could develop, work under our system, work under Zay, Bait, Nuke. Trying to think of all of our route running, which even the Ty Felton could help him with the route running. So work on that route running, get it to that next level. But he has the size, athleticism in terms of body control, jumping, being able to just reach out anywhere and pull in a catch. I think he has upside, and in the late 6th round, I think that's what you want. And then finally, pick 243 is unique cornerback in this draft, Zoff Frazier out of UTSA. He's very fast, very tall. Right now, he's basically a cover 4 bail or cover 3 bail corner. He's not going to be able to cover you in man coverage. He's pretty raw. He's hasn't started very much. I think he's only a 1-year starter at a UTSA, but the athletic traits are there. The ball skills are there. So develop them, refine them, get him as the backup cornerback, but his athleticism just stands out already. Ran a 4.3 40-yard dash at like 6'3". So, and it wasn't high 4.3s, it was low 4.3s. So that's the type of athleticism we're talking about with Zoff Frazier. And I think it's worth having him on the depth chart. And then I will mention I would like to get a kicker in UDFAs. There's the guy out of Miami, the guy out of Florida State. There's a bunch of kickers available. But when I was doing this, I was like, you know what? I don't think it's worth drafting a kicker. If the Ravens do it, I won't be upset. But these are my players that I want the Ravens to draft. I'll run through it again. 27, Donovan Ezeraku. 59, Wyatt Milam. 91, Andrew Makuba. 129, Noel Williams. 136, Ahmed Hassanian. 176, Ty Felton. 183, Jay Higgins. 203, Smile Munden Jr. Ty Robinson, 210. 212, Kanata Mumfield. And finally, Zoff Frazier at 243. Let me know in the comment section down below your guys' mock drafts, your thoughts on my players. What would you do different? Subscribe for more. Remember, 5,000 subscribers, and I'll give away our first round picks jersey before the season starts or when they release the jerseys. I've done it before, so if you guys hit that goal, I will give away the jersey. People have gotten them from me. So make sure to subscribe. Let me know what you want to see throughout the week because I'll be posting all of my instant reactions to every draft pick throughout the entire weekend right away. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I'll see all of you again then.